The eye of a people, a vision for the Actuate Society of Decentralized Science. The Guild of Light, a vision for the Actuate Society of Decentralized Science. Throughout life, a single organ of perception has always determined the fate of a whole organism. In Matthew's terse reminder, the light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. We have a theological anatomy for social renewal. A single, affirmative, clarifying focus. An eye converts scattered life into coherent illumination. The Actuate Society of Decentralized Science, ASDS, when rightly understood, is precisely that organ for the African world and the African diasporas. The guild of light that makes a people see itself and thus become luminous. This is not mere rhetoric. It is a claim about identity, technology, and destiny. The guild is the eye. Africa and its global family are the body. When the eye is single, clear in purpose, uncompromised in moral and intellectual direction, the body is suffused with light, knowledge, creativity, agency, and capital properly oriented toward human flourishing. The body, Africa and her global family. Think of the body not as an abstract demographic, but as a living civilization. Africans on the continent, African Americans, Caribbean peoples, Afro-Latinos, and all members of the global African family who carry memory, talent, and unfinished potential. That body is diverse in language, history, and condition. Yet beneath its multiplicity runs a common economy of promise. Creative labor, cultural capital, scientific curiosity, and a surplus of human dignity that the old global order has persistently undervalued. To build a future for that body, we must stop imagining Africa as beneficiary and start seeing it as the primary agent, the producer of ideas, the architect of institutions, the inventor of new economies. The Guild of Light is the organizational expression of that claim, a trained, credentialed, morally anchored fellowship that will act on behalf of the whole body, drawing talent out of margins and channeling it into projects that remap wealth and health. The eye, the guild as the light of the body. Why call an eye? Because an eye does two things that a mere committee or charity cannot. It selects and it clarifies. Selection. Because attention is the first act of creation, we must choose what matters. Clarification. Because a single gaze organizes disparate perceptions into an intelligible image. ASDS, as the Guild of Light, focuses attention on a single aim, to mobilize decentralized science and tokenize capital, so that human dignity is engineered into institutions, not appended as charity. When the Guild's eye is single, unified in ethical standards, technical competence, and spiritual purpose, the entire body of African peoples gains direction. Research that was atomized becomes networked. Dead capital that was immobile becomes liquid, purposefully directed into hospitals, clinics, research, and education. Diasporic talent that was isolated becomes part of a distributed brain trust. The result is illumination on a civilizational scale. Why this guild matters to every person of African descent. Restores agency. For centuries, Africa and its diaspora have been objects of policy and markets. The Guild returns agency, the right to define priorities, to create standards, to decide which innovations receive capital. Securitizes value. Tokenization and decentralized finance convert historically illiquid assets, land, community knowledge, local R&D, into market-ready value that communities control. That means more funds for health, education, and infrastructure under African governance. Protects cultural sovereignty. The Guild codifies ethical frameworks so that scientific and economic advances respect cultural knowledge, indigenous practices, and the dignity of communities. Builds transnational solidarity. Membership links a surgeon in Lagos, a biotech researcher in Accra, a legal scholar in Johannesburg, and an investor in Brooklyn into a single operating system for impact. Creates durable opportunity. Instead of short-lived projects, the Guild embeds capacity, training, accreditation, and governance, creating sustainable ecosystems of innovation. How blockchain actuates the light. Blockchain is not magic. It is a capacious tool, public, auditable, and programmable, that aligns incentives, preserves trust, and turns dispersed contributions into coordinated outcomes. Trust without distance. Immutable ledgers mean communities can pool capital and expertise across oceans without relying on distant intermediaries whose incentives diverge from local aims. Smart contracts as moral architecture. Agreements become executable code that enforces fairness, payment on delivery, milestone-triggered disbursements, reducing leakage and corruption. Tokenization of value. Land, intellectual contributions, clinical trial outcomes, local clinics, all become fractions that can be priced, shared, and invested in, returning value to local custodians. Distributed research networks. Data and findings can be shared in permissioned decentralization so that scientists collaborate without gatekeepers, preserving provenance and rewarding contribution. Identity and accreditation. Verifiable digital credentials anchor the guild certification. An Actuate Ambassador of Light is not merely an honorific, but a cryptographic attestation of skill and ethical commitment. In short, blockchain is the nervous system, fast, honest, and programmable. The guild is the eye. The ledger connects the eye's perception to the body's action. The step-by-step path to becoming a member of the Guild of Light. Calling an application, declare your intent. The guild seeks those who choose stewardship over spectatorship. Submit an application that states your domain, science, health, law, policy, engineering, finance, or community leadership, and your commitment to African-centered impact. Foundational training, Actuate Academy. Participate in accredited modules on decentralized science, tokenomics, ethical frameworks, and applied health technologies. No prior blockchain experience is required. The Academy is formative and rigorous. Project apprenticeship. Join an active Actuate initiative as a contributor, tokenization pilot, distributed research project, or community health deployment. This is practical learning, code governance, and collaboration in situ. Moral and ethical vetting. Undergo a deliberative review that assesses alignment with the Guild's code. Commitment to dignity, community first, transparency, and reparative economics. Credentialing. Earn the title Actuate Ambassador of Light, a verifiable credential stored on-chain that signals mastery and ethical standing. Integration into governance. Members receive voting rights and opportunities to shape ethical norms, grant allocations, and research priorities within the Society's decentralized governance structures. Ongoing participation and stewardship. Membership is active. Mentorship, peer review, project leadership, and periodic renewal that ensures the Guild remains single-eyed and morally vigilant. A final charge, singleness of sight. The gospel image is not a metaphor for isolation, but for coherence. If thine eye be single, is an insistence that the center of vision must remain uncorrupted. The Guild of Light asks of its members a similar asceticism, single in purpose, unsullied by extractive motives, resolute in service to a civilizational project.